we're going to look at the sourcing wizard, and more specifically we're going to look at the approved supplier list. This is an example of a cut down approved supplier list where we have the ASL item, supplier, and the source documents. And just showing how easy it is to load the information, we're just going to validate this here in the spreadsheet. But how did we get to this stage? Well, let's take you through the spreadsheet itself and how we create those approved supplier lists. So I have a bunch of new items here, and I know who the supplier is for these items, and I simply just paste the supplier information in. I also know the supplier site. In the case of the second one here, I'm not quite sure, so I'm just going to select the site using the user form. And I can simply then just copy that information down to the supplier site for those other items. Notice at the top we have some defaults, and it's using the defaults to help us build this, so we don't have to put in our type of our source document, etc. It automatically defaults that for us. We're putting in our purchase order number here and the line number. So ideally you have the information at hand for the purchase orders and the lines. In this case here, I'm just going to put the purchase order numbers in and assign those to the line items that I'm trying to create with this approved supplier list. Once we've done this, we can just validate the data. So we're just going to choose the validate all option here. Now you don't have to validate before you upload. You can do the upload option as well, and that will then do the upload and validation in one step. And if we go across to the left, we can see all the records are valid. So now we'll go and run the validate and upload. And when this completes, it actually calls Oracle's API and interfaces the data directly into Oracle. Now let's go and create a new sheet. And in this new sheet, we're going to use this to create a new source document and update our ASLs from being new to approved. So we'll copy the information that we've created with the other ASL items, and we'll simply use the download using sheet option here to pull the data back. And of course this is standard Excel, so you can change the width of columns, etc. if you wish. We're using the user form here. Obviously we don't have to. So we're changing that status to approved on all of these. So for a couple of these ASLs, we're going to change the source document information. For the first one here, we're going to add a different blanket agreement. And for the next one here, we're going to delete this. So we want to remove this blanket agreement from the ASL. And we simply press upload. And it successfully loaded those two records. If we wanted to do the others, we'd simply do an upload all or upload selected on the other records to make those approved as well. Now I'll introduce the functionality to create a local ASL. I'll also show how error messages show within the wizard when you go to validate and upload data with an invalid value. In this case, we'll have an item that is not part of the M1 organization. I'll also remove the ASL ID because that's tied to the parent one at the global level, and we'll set the status of these to new. We'll also remove the source documents. Here we'll simply upload the data once we set our ASL action to create. And you'll notice the last line item is invalid. In this case here, I'm just going to change it to a valid one. You can see now how we can load that last line item, and that gives us 3 accepted records. Now let's look at creating a local ASL with source documents. First we'll take some items from up here, and we'll change the organization and set the mode. We'll then change the supplier and copy that to all 3 records. And we'll remove the ASL ID as that points to the ASL ID for the global one. We'll change our purchase order number here, and by chance the line numbers line up as well. We'll get rid of the status information and simply upload the records. And now we've created a local ASL with a different source supplier and source document. And we can verify one of the items here to see the ASLs that are associated with it. And if we download this, we'll see the ASL at the global and at the local level. Now, using a full sheet for the ASL, we're going to look at adding some of the other attributes to the ASL. In this case here, we'll start with supplier scheduling. So what we're going to do is we download our item that we want to look at. Of course, you can download multiple items, not just one. We're going to put in a purchasing unit of measure, and here we're going to use the user form because we're not quite sure about the values we want to put in. So we can find our scheduler, and then we can just use the simple yes/no LOVs to pick values. We can also look at planning constraints if you wanted to add one in, and you can add in minimum order quantity and fixed lot multiples, etc. in the inventory tab. So you can add a lot more information to the ASL. So we simply set our mode to update, and then we upload that record. Again, you could do this for multiple records, not just the one. Now let's download that item again. And let's use it as the basis of changes we want to make to some of the other attributes. So here we'll change the supplier scheduling to yes, and then we'll add some authorizations as well. Again, the user form is here for you to use. You don't have to use it. You can simply type the data into the spreadsheet. And we simply upload the record. And it's that simple to change an authorization. We can just download the global one here, and we can change some of the other values as well. So if we look at this in the V1 organization, which is global, we can look at our capacity and our tolerances. We set our record to update, and it's loaded. Now we're going to grab a separate item here and show how you can update not just those tolerances, but the capacity at the same time. So we'll grab the capacity, and we'll put that in, and we'll put a tolerance in as well. As per the other loading, you could do this for multiple items and ASLs at the same time. And that's a brief rundown of the ASL functionality with the Sourcing Wizard by More4Apps.